Hi, my name's Keith Hewlin. I'm the CEO and co-founder of SmartRank. I want to talk about a problem today that exists at every single company, whether you're using internal or external recruiters, and that is the dysfunction that exists between hiring managers and the recruiter. And we talk about qualifications all the time, and hiring managers say that recruiters have no idea what they're looking for, and recruiters say hiring managers have no idea what they want, and there's just this battle that persists. So today, I want to just take a couple minutes and let's really dive into this and spend a couple minutes looking at some examples and some data that really show us that there is a dysfunction and there is a way to actually fix it. So a couple of the data points, like one of them being that 80% of recruiters think that they have a very high to high understanding of the role, but 61% of the hiring managers think they have a low to moderate understanding of what the roles are. So right off the bat, we have a disconnect there. And then we can see that over half of the hiring managers that have been interviewed will tell you that they feel like the people that come into the interviews are not even remotely qualified. So how do we want to show some of this? Well, the first thing I think that we need to do is talk about the fundamental problem, which is we are all talking about keywords. Keywords are not qualifications. Can we just put that out there really quickly? They're not qualifications. They are words. If I say that I have skills in Python, that does not mean anything. If I say I have proficiency in Excel, that does not mean anything. It is subjective. And because it has not been defined, nobody knows what we're talking about. There are no rules to the game. And the problem is that we're constantly perpetuating this idea. So let me share my screen here, and let's just take a look at some of these ideas that we're talking about here. So let's look at this. This is an article that just came out today. And in this article, what are they talking about? Necessary hard skills for each cloud engineering role. But again, we're talking about keywords. These are all keywords. Cloud engineers need general solid programming skills. What does solid programming skills mean? And here's the thing, even if you've been an AWS, programmer or developer or anybody that's been working with these cloud type of systems, if you've never worked for that hiring manager doing that role at that company, you're going to struggle to understand what that is. And even if you have done those things, you're still not clairvoyant. You've got to ask the hiring manager what they're looking for. So let's look at some specific examples here. Let's take a look at something like this AWS that we were just looking at. If we're looking at what would be a good example of a question for AWS, why don't we just ask a question like this? What we're not going to ask, because it's not going to help us, is to say AWS proficiency and then look at a resume that says I'm proficient in AWS. That's just word association. That's it, nothing else. So what we would want to do is ask a question that looks more like this, and then we get an answer from the applicant specifically to their actual proficiency level, because we define it for them. If you don't define it, it remains subjective by nature. So let's look at another role that we have here. So this is a full stack developer. Lots of people are familiar with this. This is a company everybody's familiar with. And what are we looking for? We're looking for deep knowledge of object-oriented programming. So what does deep knowledge mean? Can anybody define what that means exactly? Specifically, what does that mean? High proficiency in at least one of the following programming languages. Solid understanding. That doesn't mean anything. These words are just words. If you don't define them, then they have no meaning. That's just a reality. Experience building highly scalable web applications. Experience with Agile. These are words that just don't give us the detail that we're looking for. So what would we do? Well, we would look at, in SmartRank, we would just look at questions like this. Like, we may ask how many years you have, but we would ask a question like this. Which of the following best describes your level of proficiency with Ruby on Rails? And then we just ask 100% of the applicants, which one of these best suits what your level of proficiency is. We'll define it for you. All we need you to do is just answer this quick question with a click. And that's it. And now we'll know whether or not you're closer to the familiar or closer to the guru side of things. Well, that's nice, Keith, but that's really just good for technical roles, right? Like we hire for sales roles. Great. Let's look at this sales role. So we've got accounting and or company, experience is a plus. But experience means what? What specifically does experience mean in this particular context here? Or, proven history of meeting quota expectations. Well, how would you define what proven history means? Does that mean once out of every quarter? Does that mean twice, out of every year? Does that mean once out of every 6 quarters? Like, what is proven history? Is it monthly, quarterly, annual? That's going to vary by different managers. And then you start looking at some of these other skills that we're looking for. If you actually look at these skills, what do we see? Ability to be knowledgeable advisor. Doesn't mean anything. Proven history of meeting quota. Again, you didn't define it, so we don't know what that means. Outstanding analytical and oral and written communication skills. That's on every single job description. Keen business sense. Okay, great. Proven experience drafting, negotiating, and finalizing a variety of client material and documents. As vague as that could possibly be. Proven success working in a fast-paced environment. That's me. Strong results orientation with dedicated client focus. Demonstrated ability to work efficiently. Ability to work independently. These are all worthless things. You might as well just get them out. This means nothing. What should we be trying to focus on in here? We should be focusing on, what are the size of the companies that you have sold to over the course of your career in your last job? What level of the organization? C-level, director level, VP, individual contributor? What level? What was your average deal size that you were selling to these folks? How did you get your leads? Did somebody else generate those for you? How did you get your opportunities scheduled? Or did you actually have to be the one to go and do it? There are a million different questions and a million different things that should be here at a bare minimum that aren't even remotely close. All of these things should be stripped out. These things mean nothing. And if you really care about these things, you're going to figure them out in an interview, not in an application, not during a screening process. Okay, so how would we solve some of that? We just ask 100% of the applicants these questions. What is the average deal size of the contracts you sold in your last role? We would ask things like, what level of an organization have you sold to in your last role? We would ask things like, what size of an organization have you been selling to? We would ask, where would you rank your sales performance compared to your peers in your last role? There's so many different questions that we could be asking here to really dig in. And maybe it's a financial services role and we want to understand financial services market, but we're going to define that as banks, credit unions, credit card companies, insurance, accountants. You get the point. The point is, if you don't define this, it doesn't mean anything. Okay, let's look at, maybe just 2 more here really quickly. That's a truck driver. There's no way that you would need this for a truck driver. Well, let's just look at this role that's on Indeed. And wow, look at all these things it's asking for. It's asking for, man, you need to have maintain postal clearance by meeting all requirements established. You got to have federal motor carrier. You got to have no convictions of a major traffic violation. You got to have no more than 1 conviction of a serious traffic. I mean, there's just a list of stuff going on here, right? So what would we do? We would just ask them questions. And some of these questions, like, let's just take one example. How many years of experience do you have driving a vehicle with a GVWR? Don't know what that means, by the way, but I don't need to. I'm not a subject matter expert in this area. I just need to capture it in a question. Greater than 26,000 pounds, as well as any vehicle towing a trailer that does not exceed a GVWR of 10,000 pounds. Wow. Only if you're a truck driver would you know what that means, right? So these are the types of questions that we need to ask. And last but not least, I just wanted to pull this one up because I found this one fascinating. I just came across this one. I do this every day. I find these every single day, multiple times. So this is a chief satellite engineer. That's what this role is for. And what are we looking for? You're going to manage satellite programs from initial development through launch and operations, manage payload programs, maintain agile program, design and develop innovative engineering solutions, and evaluate and work with external partners and vendors. What? I mean, that's the duties. Now let's look at the qualifications. 5 or more years leading on satellite programs, 10 or more years working on satellite programs. Does that mean you swept the floors? Does that mean that you were somebody that was, helping out to process and make copies and process paperwork? Does that mean that you were actually an engineer? And if so, what type of an engineer? Like working on satellite programs, okay? Demonstrated experience leading, recruiting, and managing technical team members, okay? What does demonstrated experience mean? And then demonstrated ability to excel in partner selection, problem solving, troubleshooting, and cost engineering. Excellent. So this is a person that's putting aircraft into space. This is a satellite program. Like, and these are our qualifications. Do you want to know if they have any type of background as far as engineering and actually putting these things up there? And by the way, just saying experience doesn't mean anything. So that's not going to help us. So again, SmartRank defines every single one of these things. And not only does it do that, but it's also going to filter each one of these applicants that comes through. And not only is it going to do that, but it's also going to be able to give you a stack ranked and list of all of the applicants, not 202 applicants chronologically. That's how every other system does it. These are literally stack ranked 1 through 202. So if you want to go down here and you want to check out the last folks here and you want to look at candidate MN 830, go for it. They're knocked out. You can see why exactly they're knocked out for multiple different reasons here, like 5 different reasons, and they got 0 out of 4 here. And, you know, they got a couple questions right, but definitely not what we're looking for. So, you know, if you want to spend your time looking at resumes and going through every single applicant and comparing words to job descriptions, not even getting anything remotely close to the qualifications that you're really looking for, you know, quality of hire that you want to send to your hiring managers, then you should keep doing it the way you're doing it. But if you want to change that and you actually want to innovate and get rid of that and make it more efficient, effective, less biased, and ultimately less expensive, then give us a call. That's it. Thanks.